Welcome to Macquarie Business School. Welcome to the Global MBA information session. My name is Lan Snell. I'm the Academic Program Director. What we might do is just give it a couple more minutes for people to dial in. Whilst we're waiting, you can see that we've got a quick poll question for you. If you wouldn't mind answering that question in terms of where you're located, where you're based, that gives us an understanding of who's dialing in. We know that there are over 380 people that have registered for this event. This event will be recorded for those who are unable to join us live, and you can pick up the recording. I hope, as we're waiting for other people to join in, I hope that you've had a great day today. I mean, it's Thursday, we're broadcasting live from Sydney, Australia. The time here is just on 5 o'clock, 2 minutes past 5 p.m. and we've got one more day until the end of this week, so that's a good thing to look forward to. The weekend is always good. Okay, I think we might make an official start. Just looking at the poll here, we've got, let's see, we've got 40 people who've dialed in right now, and we've got a number of people, majority from Australia, New Zealand and Asia, and some people joining us from Europe, one person from the Middle East, and some from North America. So, terrific. Okay, we might just leave that poll there just for now for other people to answer that question, and then we'll close it off, Sophia, when you think that is sufficiently addressed. So, welcome. I'd like to now introduce our special guests. We have two students that are with us in the Global MBA program, Alison and G House. I might just quickly flip it over to you guys to do a brief introduction, and then we'll get on with the evening. So Alison, first to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Alison Vella. I live in Sydney, Australia, and I'm actually at the back end of the GMBA program. So I've got 8 subjects to go and hoping to finish in October of this year.
Thanks, Alison. Would you mind sharing with us what you do professionally?
Yeah, so I'm in sales. I'm a national business manager for a meat company.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alison. And thank you again for joining us tonight. And G House, you're joining us from Melbourne, Australia.
That's right, Lan. Hi, everyone. G House Mohammed here. I'm based in Melbourne. I work as an enterprise architect for a state government agency in Victoria. Glad to be here. So thank you for inviting me, Lan, and I look forward to answering all your questions tonight.
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much. We've got a lot to cover tonight. This session is going to finish on the dot at 6 p.m. So it's 1 hour. We've got 1 hour of your time. I know that there are a number of people that have got lots of questions about this, and so we're going to do our best to get them to you addressed. I encourage everyone to write in your comments and your questions. We've got a team. We've got Sophia and Elise here on hand to address those questions for you. There's also myself and obviously Alison and G House would be happy to address your questions. So please feel free to put those comments and questions as we go. This night, really, this session is designed for you. This is your opportunity to get all the questions that you have, the comments, concerns answered by us. So please make the most of it. We're going to cover 4 main things. First of all, we're going to be talking, I just might just end this poll here. I just move this aside. Okay. Sorry, I just reorganized my desktop whilst we're talking. Okay, so the first one, it's not working for me. Let me just get rid of this. That's better. And reorganize. Okay, the cohort, who our students are. This is one of the most frequently asked questions. What is the quality of our cohort like? What is the demographic, the psychographic overview? We're going to take you through that. The second thing is, what does the study plan look like? Tell us how this works. It's a fairly innovative program. When I say innovative, it's not fairly, it's completely innovative. We have revisioned, we have re-engineered, redesigned, whatever reword you want to sort of throw in there. We've done this with the Global MBA. We've taken accolades out. It is now being recognised globally as the most innovative MBA program. We've just been ranked #1 in Australia and #6 in the world for online MBA. It's pretty much unprecedented. I've been in this game for over 10 years in terms of being looking after MBA programs at different business schools. And this is the first time that within less than 1 year of entering the market with a fairly new program, a completely new program that we've taken out the top spot. So we must be doing something right here, and I'm pretty confident that we are. Obviously, there's room for improvement, but we've got a fairly good start on this. But we'd like to share with you, and I'm sure G House and Alison will take you through from their perspective as a student, because it's always more powerful coming from a student who's actually doing the program, what it looks like and their experience of it. Then we'll briefly touch on the curriculum. You may have some specific curriculum issues, and hopefully you do. Curriculum is one of the things that you must be looking out for when you're doing your homework as to which MBA that you are considering. And then, of course, admissions and pathways. So if you're happy, I'm going to proceed ahead. Here is a slide that talks about, that basically summarizes who our cohort is. This is the proudest thing about what we're doing is our students. Everything we do is but for our students. We have a very design-led philosophy in terms of promoting diversity, accessibility and inclusion in everything we do. And I think this slide summarizes it really well in terms of the diverse spread that we have in our students. Remembering an MBA is a post-experience program. This is a master's degree that we're looking at here. And as reflected to that, we're expecting students who are enrolling in our program to be professionals and to be experienced in their own domains. And lo and behold, our average statistics support that. So the average age of our cohort, there's over 200 students in the program so far. Remember, it was only launched in May 2019, last year. So almost a year. What's today's date? We should have been celebrating we missed our celebrating our 1 year anniversary here, right? Because today's the 28th of May. So it's just over a year old, and we've got over 200 students with us. The average age is 37. There are 34 different countries represented. I can't tell you how important this is in terms of that spread of country representation. As we all know, we are living through unprecedented times with COVID-19. The higher education sector around the world has been dramatically, significantly impacted by this. Macquarie University, through innovative programs such as this, through our vision to look at digital consumption, to look at digital channels and quality online digital channels, we have got a fantastic representation of different countries. This means we've mitigated, spread our risk out. This means we've got a very diverse profile of students to draw on in terms of sharing experiences. So that I'm particularly proud of. The other thing is in terms of the industries themselves, we've got a really good spread of our representation. This is public, private, government, not-for-profit, micro startups right through. So it's a really good spread. And finally, the next slide I wanted to share with you is where people, it's just a geographic sort of representation of where our students are from. We've got clusters of students we're seeing through. Just some interesting facts for you. We've got a cluster of students based in Canada, and 80% of those students have some sort of medical background, either frontline medical practitioners and or medtech entrepreneurs. So, you know, that's an interesting fact as well. At this point, I might ask Alison to share your experience. I mean, here's Alison. She's joined us from, the beginning of last year, and she's about to enter her capstone, which means that she's very close to completing her MBA. Alison, what are your reflections as a GMBA student to date that you can share?
I guess I can go through some of the positives I can start with in terms of the Global MBA. So I actually started my MBA doing it face-to-face with Macquarie University about 5 years ago. Then I had children, and doing the face-to-face piece kind of was a little bit harder to work with. I guess some of the real key differences with doing this Global MBA program is every subject is completed within a 6-week block. So kind of, tailoring time to a 6-week to get a subject done is actually quite easy and convenient. You normally always have assignments based during week 3 and week 6. So it's normally quite consistent across all your subjects, which makes it very handy to plan. So there's 6 terms a year. So I've pretty much worked out what my schedule was going to be from when I started last May right up until this point now, which has been very good to have. In terms of the course content, having it all online and having the flexibility to be able to go on and log in and look at actually the course content, look at lectures, things like that whenever you get the chance is actually really beneficial, because I work full time, I do it at night or on weekends. So that's been very good from that point of view. Having the lecturers always available via email, you can give them a call, and having the teachers' support as well has also been one of the really good benefits of this program, because they're always available and they understand the whole flexibility piece, because a lot of people actually work full time and need the support all at different times of the year. So that's also been one of the other really good benefits. Some of the other key attributes for me that have kind of worked really well with this course is just in terms of the course content and the skills that I've learned. So in terms of building skills such as like emotional intelligence, different ways to deal with conflict, leadership skills, things like that, I've actually utilised so many of those in my job now, and it's actually led me into a different thought process now in how to deal with situations or actually enter quite large projects. So I've completely shifted my entire mindset now to how I approach business life, which has been really good. So I actually have a science background, and the reason why I joined to do the MBA program was to actually learn all of the business skills and how to apply leadership skills to actually further develop my career. So this course has definitely given me those skills to definitely achieve my aspirational goal.
Thank you so much, Alison. Alison, from your perspective, what was the major difference between why did you actually shift from the face-to-face MBA into these? Is that primarily because of the convenience and the flexibility that you're after?
Yeah, for me, it was just, so I actually did the face-to-face in blocks, which I actually really enjoyed doing before I had children. So I could just spend the time to be at uni for the entire day, focus on it, and kind of get all the course content done. When I had children, it was a little bit harder to kind of do that in big chunks. So this course has really given me the flexibility where I can spend 1 hour a night if I don't really have much time, or I can spend an entire day on a weekend to get a whole lot of course content done and the assignments. Yeah. The other good thing is you actually know all your assignments at the start of a subject, which is really handy. So I really plan out my entire 6-week block and work out when I need to get all my course contents done, when my assignments are due, and I know I can even just block away and say, okay, I really need to dedicate this many hours to achieve that goal. We also know if they're individual assignments or group assignments, and you get enough notice if it's a group assignment who you need to work with and kind of plan to get those completed as well.
I mean, this is such a common comment that we get from students. It's so important for you to know upfront what that looks like so that you can plan your time. You know, as Alison said, most of our students, when I say most, over 97% of our students are working full-time professionals in fairly serious jobs. Prior to COVID, lots of traveling, etc. So that was really essential in terms of that upfront understanding of what their commitments look like so they can plan for their work and also their family. So thank you very much for that. There's a question coming in for you, Alison, if you don't mind. And Alison, would you say that the course content is the same for both the online and face-to-face? That's a very good question. Alison, would you like to have a go at that? And then perhaps I can embellish on that.
So I guess when I was actually doing the face-to-face, it was probably a lot more discussions with people's case studies a lot of the time. So we actually spent just as much time talking about different people's case studies or their views on things. Part of the Global MBA program is you kind of have a tutorial once a week for each subject where you have that opportunity, but it's limited to a 1 hour block, which I actually find a little bit better, because then that way you can actually focus more time on the actual course content and then have the 1 hour to actually have the discussions with different people to get different opinions. So I actually probably prefer this time because it's a little bit more structured, and you're definitely getting in all the course content that's actually required to give you the knowledge to complete the assignments and build on your own development skills.
Thank you. I mean, as you may know, at Macquarie Business School, we do offer 2 MBA programs. Our face-to-face MBA, which we just saw in terms of the top 3 position in Australia. It's ranked FT 100 in the world. It's a very prestigious MBA and a long, well-established one as that. But with a lot of MBA programs, you know, and we're no different to that, is that it's been challenged. The model has been challenged. You know, it did satisfy a particular need in the market, and the labour market has changed. The needs of the experienced hires market has changed. Technology has completely changed. And so we need to move with the times. And so from our perspective as a business school, we look at a number of things. We look at what those changes are, how we're going to respond to those changes, what the increasing needs are, and how do we meet those different needs with different product introductions. And so it's part of sustainability and digital growth and future-proofing ourselves as a business school as well. We knew that there was a huge segment out there of professionals who are looking for a quality MBA from a quality business school, but for one reason or another couldn't come onto campus. And so that looked like a digital experience for them. So we were happy to introduce the Global MBA as part of that mix. I think if you do your homework and have a look at all the business schools, they have at least 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 different MBA programs to very targeted at different segments. We know that the market is very big and that there are different segments in that market. So we're actually creating a product suite or offering to suit those different by expectations. So thank you very much, Alison, for that. And I know Alison has to move on because she's got some family commitments. And Alison, feel free to stay, but I know that you do need to move on. But I wanted to thank you on behalf of everyone for your time and sharing those.
No problems. The only other thing that I also want to quickly mention was just also the breadth of resources that are available as well, because I think that's quite important too. So not only do you have email addresses, you also have access to Zoom. So all of your group webinars are actually done through Zoom. So it's very easy when you're trying to actually work with groups to get group assignments done. It can be just done through Zoom meetings. You have video access, recording capabilities, things like that. But you also get a platform called Slack, which is pretty much just like a chat area where groups can also work together to kind of get some information out really quickly as well. So you've also then got Coursera, which is where the actual platform is for all your lectures and assignments and things like that. So the breadth of resources for this program is actually really well established as well, which has been really helpful.
Thank you, Alison.
No problems.
We might move on then, but just before we do, just to close off, there's another question that's come in relation to the comparison between face-to-face and online, and the question is, so in summary, there is no difference in terms of quality between online. So I just want to sort of preface this by saying the quality is the same in terms of what you can expect to receive as a face-to-face on-campus student. That has its own dimensions of expectations and delivery models and how we go about doing things versus the Global MBA. Both are what I would say high quality programs and experiences. So I hope that sort of addresses that particular question that you've got there. There are many differences between the two though. Curriculum is one of them. The Global MBA has been completely revisioned, as I said earlier. It is mapped against outcomes that we use the World Economic Forum's 16 key future focus skills as a guide to that. We work very closely with our industry partners to make sure that the units that we cover and the learning outcomes are directly aligned to what is expected at the experienced hires market. So that is your key performance indicator right there. So the curriculum is very different. The language we use is very different because we're moving in very different times right now. So that's one area, and obviously the cadence is different as well. 6 terms, as what Alison mentioned earlier, and a number of other ones. So I hope that is that's addressing that question there. Thank you, Alison. All right, let's move on. One of the other frequently asked questions that we get is about network. You know, I mean, an expectation of an MBA is to provide you with that network of professional contacts and opportunities. I have to say that this is no different to that. You should have every expectation to get this out of the Global MBA online product. What I can add to that is that not only do you have your immediate cohort, we looked at the slide earlier that over 200 students that form your immediate cohort in terms of network. These are professionals working all around the world that you can immediately connect with. It's far greater than what it would be, in fact, if you were on campus, because that'd be restricted and contained to those members. So your peers, your colleagues, your students, fellow students are your immediate network. The other form of network that you've got immediate access to is our industry advisory board and also our extended partners. We have over 18 members representing some 14 different organisations, sectors rather, represented in our industry advisory board that act as mentors and accessible points for students to draw upon in terms of the experience, and our extended partners. So just to give you an example of what I'm talking about here, I'm talking about organisations such as the multinational brands, Deloitte, Gartner, SAS, they're our gold star partners. Cochlear from we're Macquarie University. One of our signature pieces is health, obviously, because we've got a hospital on campus, and our positioning in terms of the pharmaceutical resident area that we're located in is also a strength that we can leverage off. So Cochlear is another partner of ours. We have a number of industry representations from startups as well in manufacturing. So a really good spread for you to sort of access and tap into. Then I think we've got an alumni force of over 80,000 students. Now, when I say this is really important, because what we do with the Global MBA, and let's imagine that post-COVID world where travel will be allowed at some stage, maybe next year, maybe 2 years down the track, but we will get to that point. And that is this, I call it augmented services, these local meetup opportunities. We have key markets that we regularly visit and we tap into. And so in those markets, we host these events. These events invariably are partnered with other partners, including Austrade, which we work very closely with, because we want to leverage those their networks into those markets as well. So there are opportunities for you to meet our extended partners, alumni, current students, and also potential students. So don't ever underestimate how powerful that could be for you. We run them, in all different markets. So last year we covered, Tokyo, Seoul, Latin America, India, and Southeast Asia, a number of different trips for, and because a lot of our students are also traveling, this is a great opportunity. G-House, would you like to mention or comment about, the power of the network with the Global MBA?
Yeah, thanks, Lan. I think one of the key differentiating factor between the traditional MBA and the Global MBA offered by Macquarie University is you're not only restricted to interact with people from your particular region, you can interact with anyone, as you saw in the Global Cohort, from anywhere in the world. Just to give an example, I'm currently doing a course which I've established a study group, and in my study group, we have people from 4 different time zones. We have one person from Peru, one person from Switzerland, one person from US, and the other one from Sydney. So that global perspective is, I think, the key differentiating factor for the GMBA program. Whereas in traditional MBAs, you are limited in terms of who you interact with and who you get to work with. And being able to tap into the alumni network is just the icing on the cake for me.
Great, thank you. I might pause here and just address some of the questions that have come in here. One of the questions is, will the GMBA be triple accredited in the future? So this triple crown that a lot of the business schools aspire to, where we've currently got at Macquarie Business School, AACSB, which is, the American one, and that's a very prestigious one. We are undergoing AMBA accreditation, and we'll be seeking EQUIS. So yes, we are definitely seeking triple crown accreditation on this one, and that covers the whole MBA portfolio, so the face-to-face MBA and also the global MBA. So that hopefully addresses that question there for you. Next question is will the global MBA degree have online in its description, and do potential employees discriminate? Really interesting question. I think the market has definitely shifted. It's a complex it's a complex question actually, because this is about expectations. There is this stigma, and I can understand why people have a stigma with online learning, because there are all these prevailing myths. And I have to agree that for a large percentage of online courses out there, they are at best ordinary, not worth the wait, not worth the salt, not worth paying money for. You know, we do a lot of competitive scanning out there to understand what the level of quality is, and I will have to say that a lot of them are pretty poor. So we do need to be better at educating the marketplace as to what quality looks like, right? So I think we're getting better at this. It should be led collectively from the university and also from governments as well. But that muscle is being built right now because of COVID, and it has forced us. I want to pause here and sort of give you an explanation between emergency remote learning, which is happening now because all universities have basically had to do a lift and shift model of getting their traditionally face-to-face programs in an online to allow people to continue their studies whilst COVID is happening, a global pandemic is on. That lift and shift model looks like an emergency remote learning experience that is quite distinct from a purpose-built online learning pedagogy, which is the Global MBA. The Global MBA took us just under 2 years intensely to build. So this is a very design-led specific thing for optimal learning experience. So this is scaffolded learning. We've prefaced it on what we call social cognitive learning, and this is all based on confidence building and scaffolding and building self-efficacy through that sort of handhold approach all the way through. So there's been a lot of science involved in how we get the best learning outcomes here. The other thing is that it's what we call assurance of learning. A lot of online courses out there, there's different shapes, forms and sizes, short courses, open courses, whatever you, private providers, registered providers out there as well. So there's a lot to entertain. I think there's, it creates a lot of noise. And I think, as I said earlier, we're going to have to do a much better job in explaining and differentiating what the quality looks like. So I hope I've given you some way of an explanation as to how complex this question is. But I'd like to sum up this question by saying that I think the market has definitely shifted in terms of industry expectations of what they're looking for in online MBAs. Now, they'll be guided a lot by the brand equity of the business school on this one here. So they'll look at the brand of the business school first. So if it's a sort of private brand, it's probably not as well regarded. So that sort of signals some sort of assurance of quality for industry. I certainly know from all the partners that we work with on a very close basis, and they are very diverse in terms of their representation, is that they make no distinction between an online, our being Macquarie Business Schools online, and that of our face-to-face MBA. Both are considered of high quality. Okay, let's move on. How are we going for time? We're going cracking for time. Okay, I think Alison alluded to earlier as to our unique cadence of offering. So the Global MBA, we have 6 terms per calendar year, and each term runs for 6-week blocks. This slide here just gives you a visual outline of what you can expect. So week 0, in fact, I think it's 2 weeks prior to is it 2 weeks prior, G-House, to the unit starting that we make it available for you, for students?
Yeah, that's right. And always subscribe to the MOOC version or the free version of the course on Coursera, which I think we'll touch on shortly.
Yes, we will. That's a good point. Thank you. So we do make it available open to at least 2 weeks early, so you can see what that looks like. But when the term commences, officially in week 1, we start the ground running. There is really no room for a soft approach on this. You are expected to hit the ground running. We only have a 6-week block to get through a lot of material. And by week 3, I think week 3 census day, my menu bar is blocking that. Is that right? Week 3 in the census, or is it week 2 census?
Week 2.
Thank you. I've just got my menu options there blocking. There we go. Census date is in week 2. And that is the point where you need to make a decision as to whether you continue or not. Past that date, there will be an academic and financial penalty. Prior to that date, there's no penalty. Then there are 2 assessments for each unit. with the exception, I think, of one course, and that is Engage the Board. But by and large, most of our units have got 2 assessments. They come in week 3 and in week 6, so you know what that looks like as well. Invariably, it consists of an individual and a group assignment. G-House, would you like to sort of share your experiences on the study path?
Yeah, thanks, Lana. From a technical perspective, I think listening yourself covered a lot of things. What I would like to add is the differentiation here again for GMBA program is usually in a traditional MBA, you are offered a preset timetable, so you follow the timetable along with your classmates. With the GMBA program, it's a little bit different, so you can pick and choose which course you want to study based upon your own unique needs. So let's say if you're working in sort of finance, and if you want to build on strategy and have a strategic mindset, you can start with a strategy stream and finish off that with a strategy to leadership, whereas the other student might start with a leadership stream and have quick wins after doing this course. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is there's no fixed timetable for you to study. You can tailor the study plan to suit your needs. And the 6 weeks go quite quickly. So it's a little bit challenging, but it's also absolutely fun to do the course.
Thank you. Might take this time to answer a couple more questions that are coming through. First of all, is there a specialisation in your MBA program? When we go through the curriculum, we'll actually talk about the 6 different specialisations, but the reality is that all 24 units, because the GMBA is made up of 24 units, it's a set program, so you'll have to do all 24 to get the degree. So in that regard, I can understand why people get confused on this question, because a lot of MBA products out there have, core units and then the ability to then specialise. We don't have that as such. We offer 24 units clustered into 6 capabilities or specialisations, but you don't take the opportunity to actually specialise in that specialisation. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense for you. It'll probably help when we go through the visual overview for that. Just one other question, and this comes from so the question is, knowing that this global MBA focuses on the future of work, as mentioned, the COVID-19 is expected to bring a lot of changes in the future. Is there any change to course contents to study on topics such as? Now that's a really great question, because what that question is asking about is how do we ensure for relevancy and currency in our curriculum. So the shelf life for what we've got here is what, 1.5 years at best, I think. Such is the pace of change. Here's a truism for you. Universities have long been criticised for being very unresponsive or lagging in response to marketplace changes, because I'm going to share some secrets with you. By the time that we sort of think of a new program or think about, a new innovation, it takes at least 1,000 committees internally to kick the can around, and then another year sort of to get that in motion. So it's 2 years down the track before anything happens, maybe another year. So maybe it's that new product development cycle looks like anywhere between 2 and 3 years to actually get that onto market, right? And then you've got another 3-4 year realization period. So that's almost like a 5-6 year horizon that you're looking at. So hardly agile. What we're going to do with the Global MBA is a little different in terms of ensuring relevancy and currency. So our job is to make sure that we build in the latest changes in those areas through the weekly updates. So live sessions. So the unit conveners, the lecturers, part of their job is to make sure that they maintain that currency by making sure that they invite guest lecturers to come in, updating their assessments to reflect contemporary issues. Where there are substantial changes, we'll make them. I'm going to give you one example right now. With Generate Insights, this course is all about data science and data visualization. And if any pace of change is going to be the most significant, it's going to be in data, right? Because there's a lot of changes happening right there now. So we experimented around with a number of we started out with Tableau. Our partnership with SAS is currently is the global leader in data analytics at the moment. And so our partnership with them means that we're going to really embed their solution into the unit. And so we're migrating that as we speak. So we're going to be introducing the SAS version, or version 2.0 in October. So you can see that from a period of one offering to the next, we've made that significant change. So we're a lot more agile in that response in that time frame. I hope that addresses that question. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. One of the other questions that we get asked quite often is, how long will this take? So I'm going to say, how long is a piece of string? It really depends on you and your circumstances. We know that people don't want to be studying for the rest of their days, and also there's a shelf life question there too, right? So we've given you some indications of what it could look like for you. If you are working full time, if you've got family commitments, and if you also want a life, how dare you, then that looks like probably, I would strongly suggest 1 to 2 units per term. House, how many units are you doing? Because you're taking a break too, because, you know, of life and things like that, right?
Yeah, that's right, Lan. Look, I would like to take this slowly and steadily. For me, it's about flexibility the GMBA offers and the stackable model, so you can build on one course on top of the other. You can think about it this way, you know, people who are listening to this and have kids may have heard about a story called Goldilocks and the Three Bears. People who haven't heard about the story, it's about this. It's about a girl with golden hair, hence the name Goldilocks. She was wandering in a forest. She got lost, and she came across a home that belonged to three bears. So she went inside and she saw 3 porridges on a table. And she picks up the first ball and starts to eat that and realizes this porridge is too hot. And picks up the second pot and realizes that this porridge is too hot too. And then picks the third porridge and said, this porridge is just right. And that's exactly what the GMB allows you to do. You know, you can choose 4 subjects in one term. That's a full-time load, very hectic. Or depending upon your needs, your family commitments, and your work commitments, you can, you know, anywhere between 1 or 2 courses or 2 or 3 courses. So hope that helps you understand the flexibility and stackable model of this GMBA program.
Thanks very much, House. We alluded earlier, well, certainly Alison talked about some of the collaborative industry standard tools that we incorporate in the Global MBA, and, you know, Zoom's one of them, Slack is the other. So there are different channels there for you guys to sort of work in teams, because everything we do really with the GMBA is about teams and group work as well. This enables us, you to sort of function both synchronously and asynchronously as you please on this. So it's very interactive. A lot of comments that I get is saying, you know, how isolating is this? This is just self-directed learning. It's not self-directed learning. This is not a one-way channel. This is very interactive. There are moments there that were built in, go fast and go slow mode for you, and that is tempered deliberately, very deliberately, to make sure that there is differences of opportunities and levels of engagement, so that you can sort of you know, fulfill whatever you are from your own perspective in terms of your learner experience as well.
Just
so
to add to that, Lan,
yes, please.
The tools that we use here, like the Slack and Zoom, they are contemporary tools available in the market for collaboration. And as you said, it's not about just offline learning. The live sessions that we have with the unit convener and also your colleagues are really interactive. You are given the opportunity to express your views and also hear from other people in regards to the different perspectives on the same topic. And Slack is really handy to have ongoing interactions with your team or with your study group. So I've since done 8 courses so far, and every course I had the opportunity to interact with a number of different people from all over the world, which was really fun.
Yeah, I really love when Slack lights up, and, you know, we had this thing where we ask students to introduce themselves, where are you from? And it's fantastic to see that global representation. Hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm from Toronto. Hi, I'm from wherever. And it's a fantastic community that we built here. Okay, let's move on. I talked earlier about our close association and collaboration with industry. Everything we do is consulted, and in fact, the Global MBA had been co-created with our industry advisory board. This is who they are in front of you. So they represent 18 different members from all different sectors. So, you know, we've got Yasmin, who was a former small business commissioner, so she's got a wealth of government experience. We've got, she's currently the CEO of Skills IQ, by the way. We've got Warren, who's the chairman of the board, and Warren is the CEO for MedTech, and they did the whole PillCam technology. So he brings a wealth of experience from the medtech sector. Carrie is the founder. She's a serial founder, an entrepreneur, and specializing right now. Her business is about making sure she engages the female entrepreneurs. Giles is into social impact bonds. So that's what his business is all about. He works closely with the UN actually in making these transformative opportunities available for women and for girls. Anne comes from the government background as well. Her strength is in urban planning. When we think about sustainability of living in the future, what that looks like, I think she brings a different lens to the discussion, which is very valuable. We have Karen here, who is a partner for Digital Deloitte Digital, and so they are a partner that for our capstone unit as well. Catherine is a TEDx speaker, and her area of research is specialised in aged workforce. Here we are, guys, we're in 2020, and this now, that workforce, that pipeline of the workforce, for the first time, we are potentially going to have 4 different generations participating in this labour market. So right from Gen X, Gen Z, right through to the baby boomers, right? So 4 generations participating in this. This is a very diverse workforce that we're looking at. So Catherine's experience in harnessing that experience across that pipeline is invaluable. We have Warren. We have Mike, who comes from ANZ. It's a bank in Australia, but he spends most of his time pre-COVID in India. He specialises in supply chain, and his job is to look at experimentation with trying to improve the efficiencies across the Asia-Pacific supply chain in this, and they create different sandpit areas to experiment. Once they're confident in it, then they can plug it into the main supply chain. Really interesting approach to innovation in financial services. We have Juliet, who's also a partner at Deloitte, and her specialty is within human capital. So she brings a wealth of experience in leadership, as does Peter, who is the CEO of one of the leading talent recruitment global organisations, Russell Reynolds. And we're actually collaborating with them on a separate research project on understanding how industry is responding to changes in the work leadership. So it's around 3 pillars, actually: work, leading, and learning. This research project with them and the leaders all across the world. So it's fantastic. We have Bernadette. She's a doctor, so she comes from the Health Commission, and so she brings in her experience from health. This is Brent from Cochlear. He's the CFO at Cochlear, and I said earlier, Cochlear is our global partner on this one, and they partnered with us in the capstone in presenting a challenge for our students to solve. Cochlear are the inventors of medical implants for hearing deficient people. Yem she's a Vietnamese refugee, but she's also one of Australia's most successful entrepreneurs. She specialises in prepared meals, in 8 to 12-year-old children, prepared children's meals. We have David from SAS. He's actually just recently left SAS, and he's gone off to be the CEO of another firm. But SAS is still our partner, and the incoming CEO, her name is Lynette, and we'll update that slide in the next iteration. But SAS partner with us on co-creating the curriculum, particularly through the data science and visualization unit called Generate Insights. We have Hannah, who's the youngest member of the board. We'll be celebrating, I'm sure she won't mind me sharing this with you, her 25th birthday. Hannah is has been with Bain & Co, which is a boutique consulting firm, for just over a year. I met Hannah when I was at UTS, possibly UTS's brightest student on that. So she's got a great career ahead of her. And then last but not least, we've got Ian, who is a managing vice president at Gartner. And so I hope what you can see here is the breadth of our partnership with industry. So when people ask questions about, oh, how does industry regard this? You know, all these leaders. So for example, Juliet is actively out there talking to all her clients from Deloitte and talking about digital innovation. What does the frontier look like? So these are our ambassadors for Macquarie Business School as well. This represents your extended network too. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this is the curriculum overview and that question that we talked just briefly earlier about the specializations. You can see that the Global MBA is comprised of 24 units and clustered in 6 areas. That we use different terms interchangeably. So for example, specialization or capabilities. I prefer capabilities really because it's less confusing. So 6 capability areas, but 24 units all up, which you must do to get the Global MBA degree. What I wanted to share with you in this is how we've done this. The reason why we did it in this way was because we really mapped out, we did a whole workshop, a whole process around what these units should be. So we used the World Economic Forum's 16 future focus skills. We asked our industry advisory boards to identify the expectations in terms of hiring expectations of experienced hires, and this is what we landed on. So leaders of tomorrow and the future, tomorrow is now, by the way, need to be able to think strategically, and that's a must. They need to be able to lead, attract, retain, harness talent. That's going to be increasingly hard as well in this new world that we're operating in. They need to be digitally numerate. They need to understand how to read the numbers. So this is digital literacy and also being numerate. So this is all about the quantitative stuff of this, and it's all data driven, right? They need to be able to influence. You need to be able to tell a story. There's no point being a genius in your own mind if you're not able to communicate that in a way that people understand. So this is really important, a hugely important skill. You need to be able to be adaptable. We hear a lot about the term called resilience. It's actually almost beyond resilience now. This is about growth, okay? So this is about how we're going to grow to that next stage in your personal and your professional. It's a lot of self-reflection, and for some people, this will be confronting, I think, deliberately so as well. This is going to push the boundaries in terms of what you're comfortable with in dealing with. We talk about cultural intelligence, emotional intelligence, global citizenship as well in this. And the capstone is what we call problem solving. And so this is the final culmination. And so it is a prerequisite that you have to do all 20 units before you enter the capstone. I mentioned earlier that Deloitte and Cochlear are partners with us in delivering the capstone. So the client for this session will be Cochlear, the advisory partner. We have a triple approach to governance on this one is Deloitte. They'll be working with students in advising them at key milestones. And so this is a very immersive, experiential, but also very innovative program in terms of that last experience. So this is what you got to look forward to, G-House, by the way, in terms of the capstone.
Yeah, thanks. I look forward to it. And just want to mention that each of these courses leave you with some good tools and some knowledge, which, like Alison mentioned at the start, shifts your mindset in regards to how you think and approach the business world. And each of the course is has its own value. For example, for me, a lot of my work involved communicating technical stuff to non-technical audience who are part of the C-suite or senior management. And the course I recently did, like Communicate with Impact, really helped me to get better at it and use stories and all sort of non-technical tools to communicate that. So yeah, I would say each course is valuable and helps you progress forward as you go along in the journey.
Thanks for that, G-House. I'm actually going to turn to a question that Mark has posted on this thing about prerequisites and suggestions. So I'll be very clear. There are no prerequisites other than what I just mentioned about the capstone. So the only prerequisite in the program is that you need to do those 20 units before you enter the capstone. The capstone is actually delivered in 2 blocks, block 1 and block 2, which need to be done. Block 1 needs to be done before block 2. You know, that's some detail that we can go into earlier. Having said that, there are some recommendations we make. So students are free to study which units whenever, in whichever order that they want to. We do suggest that students might consider starting off with a leading unit, so leading spirit, like know your people, know your organisation, just to ease yourself into it. A lot of people have sort of anxious about the more quantitative units. I know that I've been speaking to a lot of students who have expressed their concerns because they have not studied for some time, or they've not done, or they don't come from a financial background, whatever, that's fine. So we do suggest that people may want to ease themselves into the program with know your people, know your organisation, and then look at the others. But there's no prerequisites. What we do
the only other prerequisite, if I may add, is that you've got to have desire to learn, and you've got to have a passion to learn, because nobody will ask you to do MBA, from my experience at least. You come to a realization in your career where you realize that everything you've learned has got to you here, which is really good, but it's not going to take you to the next level. If you look at the people at the next level, they have a completely different skill set. They can talk to people in a pub. They can also talk to people in a boardroom. They can get things done to other people. In order to develop that skill set, you can either sit idle and stay put and get your hair get gray and then it will come naturally, or you can fast track it and leapfrog over your colleagues by doing something like this, something transformational. So that's the only prerequisite, is your desire to learn and passion to have that career, that you desire to have.
Thanks very much. Yes, there's a really good point there, a desire to learn, absolutely. I did notice a question that had been asked by someone earlier about, is there a course on human resource management? This is also one of the other commonly asked questions we get. I understand that the language that we've got here and how we've presented is very different to what an MBA curriculum looks like. So, for example, most traditional MBAs have units called human resource management, behavioral economics, services marketing, financial institutions, management accounting, for example. So they represent silos, right? We've moved away from that model. We've absolutely moved away from that sort of siloed approach to curriculum to focus on outcomes, as I said earlier. And so this language may not necessarily be familiar with you. Having said that, though, this is a generalist MBA. An MBA is a generalist master's program, so you should be able to be across all the management functions, and they include those silos. So yes, whilst I say that it is outcomes-based, we do cover all the traditional bases of management. So human resources management, for example, is know your people. Okay, corporate strategy is be competitive. So yes, all those foundations are covered in our curriculum, to assure you. Let's move on. This is what G House was sort of touching on earlier about the stackable components of the MBA. There are 3 value propositions that I like to use when we're talking about the Global MBA. First one is, the future focused curriculum, which we've just talked to at length. Second one is a stackability, and this is what this slide is talking to. The third one is accessibility, and that it's delivered in terms of the price point and also how accessible this material is. So this slide here gives you the different options. Our partner in terms of the learning platform is Coursera. Coursera are currently one of the most dominant learning platforms out there. So you may have heard of Coursera, edX. They're based in the US. They're spin-offs of MIT and Stanford, and they're currently the global leaders in this, with some 50 million learners between the two. Then there are other UK-based platforms, FutureLearn, 2U. This is a growth area. EdTech is definitely a growth area in this environment that we're living in. We happened to have partnered with I think the best one is Coursera out there at the moment. And Coursera had been in this space in business they're fairly new, they're under 10 years old, right? So it's considered a startup still. 10 years old, and they really specialized in open courses. So this is, free courses, open short courses for people. And so their mission out there is one of a distributed model of education. And so So you may have heard of the term MOOCs, which stands for Massive Open Online Courses. And when they were first sort of introduced to the market, you know, somewhat 5-6 years ago when it was a mainstream, everyone sort of was freaking out. Oh my goodness, this is the death of universities. Well, of course that isn't the case, because what this means is that we have a disaggregated market here looking for different options: short courses, long courses, award, non-award, accredited, non, and everything in between. Because as consumers now, we're wanting choice. We're wanting in-demand and on-demand education as well. So this is what we've responded to, that in terms of the stackable option that we have built in for the Global MBA. You can try all our 24 courses, actually, or 20 courses with the exception of the capstone, are available as open courses on Coursera. So you can try it for free. It's called the audit mode. Don't pay for it, by the way, for free. And you can accelerate your journey because you'll still have to do all the open units as a degree student, right? G House, would you like to sort of flesh out how you sort of accelerated or dipped in with the open courses?
Yeah, look, my introduction to Macquarie University actually came through Coursera because I was actually enrolled or partially enrolled into doing an MBA course at another prestigious university in Australia. But to fill my commute time, I sort of equipped myself and enrolled with an open course on Coursera. And because I was on Coursera, I got this email that Macquarie University have announced that they're going to launch a GMBA in 2019. And I had a look into it, and the value proposition was just too hard to ignore. Similar ranking to what my university was, and at a very attractive price. So I withdraw from my previous MBA and then enroll into the GMBA program. So I guess, yeah, the Coursera platform really offers you the opportunity to try before you buy. So you can enroll into a free version of the course, have a look at the course content, and I'm sure your expectations will be met. And the same platform is then used in this program where you can get a bit more feature-rich version. So you can upload your assessments, you have an opportunity to interact with your classmates, post in a discussion forums and that sort. But again, it's stackable and flexible, so you can choose the pace that you want to go.
Thank you very much. So as I said, so we've got open, you can, for people who are looking for a digital badge, and this is a co-badge between Macquarie University and Coursera. That's what will feature on the digital badge. This is in the open space, by the way. That's a subscription-based model there. And for people who just are looking at a particular area, a course that they're interested in, they can just enroll for one unit as well, one course, and get fulfilled from that. Or of course, there's the whole degree that you can enter into. So this represents choice for people, basically. Okay. Let's move on. There are two ways that you can be admitted into the Global MBA. The first one is what we call the direct entry, direct admission, and this is no different from that of our face-to-face MBA. So it requires an undergraduate degree, 3 years of experience, IELTS if you're an international student, 5 out of 7 in terms of GPA. So they're the same admission criteria for our face-to-face MBA as it would be for our Global MBA. We do recognise that there is a large portion of people out there who are very experienced professionals who, for one reason or another, do not fulfil any one of those direct entry requirements. And so for that, we created what we call the performance track, which means that you can come in, and if you get an average WAM, weighted average mark, of 65 and over across 4 units, then you can, and if you have 3 years work experience, then you can be admitted into the degree. So there are 2 pathways. Okay, I'm also conscious of the time and we're doing really well. So this is just basically the end sort of slide on this one, and it finishes up a really nice some sort of accolades, I guess. We've shared with you our rankings in terms of being number 1 in Australia, number 6 in the world for online MBAs. We've got very stiff competition and we're really proud of this fantastic achievement. Coursera, by the way, partner with, I think, 240 odd universities all around the world. Our average ranking is the highest of all their partners. So just to be clear, some of their partners include Arizona State University, Pennsylvania, London Imperial College, very prestigious schools and universities. And I'm proud to say that humble Macquarie University in Australia, down under, they call us the University from Down Under, is the highest ranking one, 4.8. So that's fantastic in terms of our accolades. Okay, I think that might be the last slide there. And there are just some sort of further points of contact. I'm conscious that we didn't quite get through all the questions. I know that there's some that I think you might have preferred some further discussion on online. I'm really happy to take on those discussion items. Why don't you contact me, and then I'd like to have a more detailed conversation with you there, and we can tease and unpack all those concerns that you might have there. I'm really happy to do that. G House, were there any other closing comments that you'd like to make?
Yeah, thanks, Lan. Thanks for inviting me to this. Just before we wrap up, just want to mention the Macquarie University to me has always been you to the power of us. That's the core value of Macquarie University. So imagine yourself, whatever you want to be, whether you want to progress in your career, start a new business, grow your new business, scale your new business, or lead a non-profit organization. Just fit yourself in that bracket of you and let Macquarie University do its magic. And then you will be transformed in 1, 2, or 3 years' time into a completely different person, with much more confident and much more global mindset.
What a great way to end it. Thank you so much, G House. I really appreciate it. I'm sure you guys also appreciate the time that G House you've made. We'll close off this session for now. I hope that this has been informative for you. Thank you very much for dialing in and the opportunity to discuss this with you. Please contact us if you have further questions. Thank you and good evening.